Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about a project that we just wrapped up here in the city of Rochester. This one consisted of 42 two-bedroom townhomes. It was a renovation project, and the equipment is a 2-ton air handling unit heat pump system. The manufacturer's Daikin on the heat pump system, so our indoor unit and our outside condensing unit, and the energy recovery is from Renew Air. Modular Comfort Solutions in Henrietta is the supplier of this equipment. So to break this down, I create these drawings for my installation team so that they can check the boxes on what we got to get done and make sure that we got a complete system before moving on to the next unit. So I'd like to describe a few things with this and what goes into making this thing complete. We have a forced air handler down here. So on this particular project, it was sitting down on a concrete pad in the basement. There is an outside condensing unit, which is here. So that sat on a concrete pad on the rear of the townhome. And then there's the energy recovery ventilator here, which was down in the basement as well. That was a wall mount. We have refrigeration piping here in blue. It goes from the outside condensing unit to our indoor air handler. Ductwork supply on top of the air handler. This is what this forced air to the first and second floor. And let me zoom in on that. Our main power breaker panel here, and the power supply to each equipment, what that is, and then our control wiring, and also our condensate pump. So with this sitting on the basement floor on a pad, the condensate in the cooling season that's created indoors goes to this lift pump, and it gets terminated at a laundry sink in the basement. So let's dive in here a little bit. So we'll start with the ductwork portion. So on our energy recovery ventilator, they put this in here to try to temper the outside air that comes in as makeup air. So we got to have air turnover every so often in the townhome. And so when they bring in that outside air, they want to temper it with some of the existing air within the unit, so that the heat pump doesn't work as hard on that fresh air to get it climate controlled before it pushes it up to the floors. So out here, this exterior wall is represented here. I've got an exhaust air and an outside air. So we'll talk about those two got to be 10 foot away from each other. We have a vent fitting on the outside, so that outside air comes in here. There is a motorized damper within that duct run. So in the event of a loss of power, that motorized damper fails closed so that you don't have an open 4 or 6 inch duct in the winter time. That'll close it off so that it keeps the temperature as best it can. So that outside air comes through here, gets tempered from the return air from the unit, then that supply air or fresh air makeup gets tied into the return system of the heat pump. So I'll probably have a separate video that talks about the ERV specifically. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds of it for this one. So that fresh air that comes into the return and gets tempered in this air handler and forced up to the first and second floor. So that's about it for the ductwork. The refrigeration, like I said before, we've got 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch line set from indoor and outdoor. And based on the time of year that it is, that's flow circulation, one way versus the other. I'll have another video on that too. All right, so power wiring. So this would be just like we all have at home, our main power breaker panel. And what we needed for power was 208 to the outside unit, independent. So there'll be a breaker in here with a power feed to the outside condensing unit. There'll be another breaker for the ERV unit, another breaker for the indoor air handling unit, and then a 110 volt service outlet right at the indoor unit as well. And that will be the power supply for our condensate pump, excuse me. So there are 4 breakers specific that we need to serve power to make this system work properly. All right, so for control wiring, so the unit's down in the basement. The thermostat is up in the living space on the first floor. That thermostat gets mounted on the wall up on the first floor, and then 18.2 wire is run to the P1 and P2 terminals down here at the air handling unit. Then other control wiring is the F1, F2, which is another 18 gauge 2-wire run. That's the communication between the indoor air handling unit and the outdoor condensing unit. So that's how those two talk to one another. Then the other control wiring is for the energy recovery ventilator. This one here just tells that ERV how often it would like to run. So there's a timer controller here that has, let's see if that shows it well enough. It's tough to read, but it goes in increments based on percentage. So we got 10% all the way to 100%. So when it's lit up at 100%, that means that fan's running 100% of the time, bringing in fresh air. If we were down here at 10%, that would be 10% of an hour. So that would be 6 minutes per hour that this energy recovery ventilator fan would be pulling in fresh air. So what I did on this, I believe, let me take a look. Yep. So that showed what that wire terminal is at the COM board on the air handling unit. It also shows on this timer controller what terminals that go to here, to the timer controller, and then over to the ERV unit. So I really like to spell out the details on these projects and kind of give our installers, even though they're doing the duct and the equipment and the refrigeration and not necessarily responsible for the power control wiring, it's still good for them to understand what it takes to make this complete. And it's just a good way to make sure that we got our I's dotted and T's crossed. So I hope you enjoyed the video. please comment if you have any questions about it. I appreciate you watching. Thank you.